We're Gutbucket. I'm Ken.
I'm Ty.
And I'm Adam.
There's one more. His name is Eric.
He looks kind of like this.
Eric looks like that's Eric.
Right,
so
that's
we can
not
keep
true.
that in mind for Eric.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, gags. Our first rehearsal was February 99. Our first show was April 99.
In a now defunct club, which is a part of a long list of clubs that we've played in New York that no longer exist, which I think is one of the things about being a 12-year-old band is you've seen a lot of things come and go. The way that most people got to know us at that time was that we had a regular Knitting Factory residency when the Knitting Factory was on Leonard Street in New York. And so they would say, okay, why don't you do every Friday night for the next 4 months? We said, great. And so we got in there, and that's when we really started testing what we were doing and really getting it in front of people. People would come from other shows in the Knitting Factory and come down and just check us out. And that's one thing that we kind of figured out right from the beginning is that if you have all these people who are going down to the tap bar to find a way out of their show and go have some beers, what you want to do is get their attention. Our first record was on Knitting Factory Records. We went on a couple Knitting Factory tours to Europe.
We started touring the U.S. in 2001. We did a lot of Northeast tours, D.C., Boston, that kind of thing, Philly. And then 2005 was the first time we drove, I think, 12,000 miles in a month and hit California for the first time. I mean, it was actually quite interesting because we had been touring Europe, and this was I finally realized that across the U.S. there are these little pockets of,
People
underground music
yeah,
scenes,
yeah.
That do stuff not just underground in sort of the punk rock world or the indie rock world, but people who want to hear instrumental, kind of improvisatory, composed, us type music.
I was really pleased by the time I did join the band to find that the music was really based on composition. It was about each player having their say kind of in how they wrote music for the band, and bringing in these fully realized charts for everyone to play. And that has kind of been the direction for the past 3 years since I've been in the band. And that's been really fun to explore.
And I think with just in terms of the orchestration of the instruments that we have, I think we're trying to be a little bit creative as far as making sounds that are not exactly like what you would expect.
Well, that is certainly in the legacy of Gutbucket, and I saw this as an outsider for a long time. That has obviously been a big goal of yours, over the years, to push, different things into the foreground and to just experiment with different combinations of instruments and different roles that instruments
Well, I
can
think,
play.
yeah, and you did that exactly on your tune for Flock.
Right, so the whole idea of bass and drums being a rhythm section, well, in the music, sometimes that's the case, but sometimes, we just as we're kind of a composer collective, everyone writes music, each instrument can play a different role in the composition.
I mean, there is improvisation in the music too, and I don't mean to downplay that. There is both.
But as far as things that reference jazz as people conceive of it, I mean, there's not a lot of swing tradition feel
There's
in
not.
our. I mean, not anymore. I mean, we used to have.
We used to have a little bit of like
nod to that, but
like once. in
But
a
yeah,
while,
as far
right?
as things that say ding 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 jazz, yeah, you're right.
There kind of isn't ding 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 anything anymore, and I guess that's part of what's been happening with us is that like when we did Dry Humping the American Dream, a lot of people, we weren't thinking John Zorn, but a lot of people compared it to Zorn or Naked City because there were a lot of quick genre switches. So we actually we would do like a kind of a Latin montuno kind of thing for a while, and then go into like like spaz rock and then come out of that, and there are all these things that were references to things that I think people knew. But I think what's been happening more and more is that now, and I think also with adding Adam on the drums, it's like I feel like there's no points when you're like, oh, this is this kind of tune, so I'm going to do this kind of thing. Like, I don't hear that from you at all, and I think that's part of what has wound up happening, is that we're not.
Well, you guys give me such complex charts to play,
right?
They usually throw them in the garbage and say, "Let me see the bass part, and I'll make up my own stuff because this is totally illegible and ridiculous." We'll be in Boston. We should be in Philadelphia. We'll be elsewhere in the Northeast. You should check it out. We'll be in Europe. We'll be in Berlin, LA, San Francisco, Seattle,
Chicago, and
Minneapolis, St. Louis, Paris.
You know, what are we supposed to do? You know, this is what we do.
Yeah, we gotta go for it.
Thankfully, we have this sponsorship deal worked out with Catfoot Airlines. Have you heard of them? They're fantastic. They're flying us everywhere. Brilliant. Thanks, Catfoot.